What's good, everybody? We are now on our fourth and final week without a numbered event, and we're finishing it off with Gamrot versus Salkilld in the Apex. Man, on paper, this might be the actual worst card we've had this year. Like, we're genuinely talking about a Billy Quarantillo co-main event. Like, let's be for real. The actual main event, though, it's pretty interesting, and it kind of makes up for it, alright? Not all the way. Let's not glaze the UFC too much. But yeah, man, last week I went 11 for 14 on the Serbia card, so you guys know my knowledge is to be trusted, alright? Let's get into these prelims. Starting off with the first prelim of the night. Certified banger opening up the card, man. We couldn't ask for more, man. We could not ask for more. Juliana Miller versus Ravenna Oliveira. These girls have a combined record of 11-8-1. This is genuinely a street beefs matchup, alright? Ravenna Oliveira has not won a fight in 3 years. She's lost all 3 of her UFC bouts, and Miller is 2-3 in the UFC. Alright, Miller's strong suit is definitely the ground. She's good off her back. She throws up good triangles, good arm bars. She rolls for legs, which is always good in this low level. You know, it's pretty effective in low level MMA. But the issue with Miller is that she's super slow and sluggish in everything, bro. Footwork, striking, head movement. Damn near her whole game, she's slow. She throws strikes like fucking Pimlet. Chin up in the air, loop in, throw them from the hip. It's really rough, man. Luciano is light years better than Miller on the feet, without a doubt. She actually throws in combinations. She keeps her hands up. She has, like, straw weight speed. You know, she doesn't move like she has bricks in her gloves. But my worry is that if she gets taken down, she'll accept the bottom position and just, like, ride out the rounds and just lose a decision like she has in some of her previous fights. But honestly, man, the difference on the feet, like, their skill on the feet is so outrageous that I just have to say, give me Oliveira by 3-round, 30-27 decision. Like, it's so bad. I can see Miller at one point throwing up a triangle, maybe getting close with a submission. But the striking differential is so horrible, I just have to go with Oliveira. Alright? Oliveira by decision. On to the next fight. Miles Johns versus Jesse Rosas. Now, Jesse Rosas making his UFC debut, 9 years younger than Johns, coming in with an 8-1 record against, you know, pretty buns competition. Johns, as the older fighter, he actually is coming in with a speed and power advantage, in my opinion. And my main issue with Rosas is that I think he's not going to be able to get the respect of Johns on the feet. Like, he's not really impressive in any one specific area of his fight, except low-key his volume, right? I saw in the Gene Matsumoto fight that Miles Johns is primarily a counter striker. He loves to throw, like, when you leg kick him, he loves to throw a right hand. Whenever you blitz, that's when he blitzes. He's mostly on that counter striking wavelength. He kind of just throws shots off whatever you throw, and he mixes in level changes pretty well. Again, usually it's defensively off a counter. If you rush him a little bit, he's gonna change and go for your legs. I don't see either of these guys really posing a knockout threat for each other. It's gonna be a decision. I'm pretty sure, like 90% sure it's going to be a decision. But for my money, like, damage-based, it's going to be Johns. You know, damage-based decision, Johns should win. He's going to do more damage. He's going to land the better shots, this isn't that. But I think that Rosas, being the younger fighter, having the way higher output, again, Johns being a counter-striker, he's going to rely on every time Rosas throws to throw himself. I think it's going to be one of those decisions where he wins based on the emotes. You know, he emotes a lot in his fights, watching his tape. This is Rosas I'm talking about. He emotes a lot. He loves to throw in long combinations. And it's going to be one of those situations, I think, where the judges will get swayed by the volume, will get swayed by the emotes, even if by the end, you know, Rosas has more visible damage to his face. He's gotten hit way harder. It's gonna be one of those fights where it's gonna be a robbery decision. This is my opinion, right? I hope Johns wins. I love seeing young prospects get checked early in their career, like Rosas, because it really gives them time to develop. Unless you're Paddy Pimblett, I guess. Right, fuck Paddy Pimblett. But I think this is gonna be a Rosas decision. Low-key robbery decision, alright? So give me Rosas by robbery decision. On to the next fight. Manuel Sousa versus Richie Miranda. Now, Manuel Sousa is one of the first guys I ever did study on. Like, I watched this guy's videos, and I found out, if you guys don't know, this is actually the first person to knock out Rufy in his professional, like, career. He has crazy power in his hands, really good, like, body-head, body combinations. He goes to the body really well. And he was undefeated until a couple years ago. I think 2 years ago, he got his first loss, but he's really good. And Richie Miranda, on the other hand, he's a prospect. You know, he's coming in with a pretty good record. He only has 1 loss. But honestly, these guys striking are in 2 different worlds. Like, it's kind of like the girls fight I talked about earlier. They have nothing to do with each other on the feet. Manuel Sousa is light years better. Miranda, has good cardio. He's pretty safe on the feet. Like he keeps his distance well. He has good steady pressure. But he's not going to be able to get any respect from Sousa on the feet. Like zero respect. He doesn't have any power in those hands. And in my mind, I think this is honestly the easiest pick on the card. Manuel Sousa, round 2 KO, maybe round 3. After a round 1 where Richie is keeping his distance, keeping it safe, maybe feeling the fight out. So is Sousa. But yeah, man, I think Sousa's going to catch him. I can see Miranda throwing a knee, maybe trying to counter off of something Sousa throws. And Sousa leaning off to the side, knee misses, maybe hits his shoulder. And he throws one of those like nasty-ass overhands and just drops him really bad. Like drops Miranda, either flatlines him or drops him and then 1-2 shots ground and pound and it's over. For anyone that says that, Richie's never been finished, it's true. He's never gotten knocked out in his professional career. But there's a first time for everything, bro. And this guy, Sousa, is so good. Don't be surprised if this guy makes a run at 155. He has a lot of power in his hands, big for the division, and he's good, bro. He's fought some good competition, has a really good record, even without having been in the UFC. Also, he's like on a 3-fight win streak. Am I tripping? Like a 3-fight KO streak in the UFC. Maybe I'm thinking of a different guy, but insane. Manuel Sousa by knockout round 2, all right? Jose Montaña versus Louis Sutherland. Every card has to have one of these weekly whale versus whale matchups, bro. Off topic, all right, but the Tuivasa Sutherland fight was so crazy. It's the first time with Louis Sutherland I've ever felt like I've gotten scammed. This guy scammed all of us, bro, as MMA fans. He looked ripped. He looked like a roid monster out of the UFC. This guy had actual muscles. He had defined abs. Like, he looked like a guy out that was doing MMA, like a professional. Comes into the UFC and just blobs out. Bro's genuinely a bag of milk now. Like, what's going on, man? But yeah, I mean, we all know what Sutherland has to offer. He has heavyweight power, normal. He has kind of shit cardio. He has okay pressure on the feet. Shit takedown defense. Can't defend a fucking heel hook to save his life, like most of the heavyweights. And Jose Montaña, he's coming in 6-1. He's a jiu-jitsu guy mostly. He's fought, some buns on the regional scene. And this is just honestly a coughing baby versus coughing baby matchup, right? This is a stoppable force versus movable object. The deciding factor is going to be the grappling, I think, and that's where Montaña is going to shine. But man, it's really going to be a buns fight. If this fight doesn't happen, like, I can see Montaña, maybe Sutherland throws a big ass hook, Montaña ducks under, gets a takedown, gets to the back, chokes out Sutherland. If we don't get a round 1 submission from Montaña, this is going to be a 3-round snooze fest where both guys are just greasing off each other, like the Tuivasa fight, like the fucking Tuivasa versus Teixeira or whatever that fight was, or like any of the Shamil Gaziev decisions. But it's going to be one of those fights if there's not a first round submission. I'm praying maybe this is a coping pick because I don't want to watch 3 rounds of these guys having like whale sex with each other. But I'm praying for a Montaña round 1 submission, all right? But again, if this leaves the first round, my brother, grab a pillow, grab some melatonin. It's time to sleep. All right? On to the next fight. Kazakhstan stand-up, bro. Kazakhstan stand-up, your very own, is fighting, bro. Shout out to the Kazakh-looking girl that's not actually Kazakh. Shout out to you, my brother. But yeah, man, I know Ribeiro, the guy with the big ass head, hard-ass chin. He Kimura, our Kazakh goat. And then he got Ezekiel'd again in his next fight. But flukes happen, man. Sometimes you're just chinning to submissions. What can you do? He's just chinning to the subs, right? Looking at this fight, unfortunately, I have to say that the losses of Bruno Lopes are way more excusable than those of DR. Like, DR has Shavkat head movement, which is to say he doesn't have his head movement at all. He has good heart. He has good ground and pound, serviceable cardio for the light heavyweight division. But man, Lopes has really good pressure. When he has his opponent hurt, he really chases after the finish. He has good, fast striking on the feet. He looks for submissions. I don't know. He's gotten a couple arm triangles, man. Like, seeing the track record of Nurgozhay getting Ezekiel'd and Kimura'd, I'm worried he's gonna get hit with like a buggy choke or some fluky ass submission in this fight. But man, if he gets fluked, I'm gonna crash out. Honestly, I don't want it to happen. But honestly, like, if we're being for real, Bruno Lopes is going to finish DR somehow. It's going to be a submission or a TKO or a knockout. He's a little bit too fast. He's a little bit too accurate, and he's definitely going to get dropped. Unless DR, like Loki flukes this fight and, like, hits a knockout in the first round, at some point in this fight, he's going to get rocked really bad because he does not move his head, and you can't do that against Lopes. Lopes he's not some killer, right? Like, this guy's fighting on the fucking prelims of a fight night. Like, he's not a killer by any means. But he is accurate, fast, and powerful enough to drop DR, and that's what I see happening in this fight. All right, I have to give you guys my takes with the least amount of bias possible. I love Kazakhstan. All right, check out my channel description. I'm a Kazakhstan glazer all the way, but I have to pick Lopes by round 2 TKO. All right, DR, for the love of God, please prove me wrong and bring Kazakhstan a glorious victory. All right, on to the next matchup: Steve Asplund versus Guillermo Pat. All right, shout out to Guillermo. Kind of sounds like my dad's name a little bit. Asplund is one of those motherfuckers, right? A little bit of a tangent, but he's one of those guys that genuinely cuts down to heavyweight, or genuinely has cut down to heavyweight. Like, we joke about Tai Tuivasa and Shamil Gaziev looking like prime TJ Dillashaw cutting to 265 pounds, but this guy actually did it, bro. Like, respects to him, he used to be 500 pounds. That's insane, 500 pounds, and now you're a professional athlete. Insane, all right? On the feet, Asplund, he's pretty quick. I mean, we've all seen that fight on the Contender Series, pretty crazy. He has a good jab. He has really good heart. You know, he keeps it going all 3 rounds. He has good cardio for a guy that used to be 500 pounds. You know, I guess moving all that weight around. And on the other hand, Guillermo Pat, honestly, looking for this guy's MMA footage, this shit's harder than finding, like, footage of Wilt Chamberlain's 100-point game. Like, you're genuinely going to find that before finding any footage of this dude. From the little footage I've seen, he's pretty athletic, right? I think he's faster, more powerful than Steve Asplund. But again, like, he's not as technical. And I can't give him any props with any real confidence because the footage is so grainy. I don't know. I can't even make out who's who in those fights. I'm kind of guessing who Pat is, right? And I don't really see Asplund getting knocked out. Like, we saw in his fights, he knows how to take a punch really well. And for Pat, he's gotten blobbed by Thomas Peterson. Like, the safe pick is Asplund by decision. Maybe Asplund gets dropped round 1, maybe early round 2, but he's going to win all 3 rounds. It's going to be an Asplund decision. I wouldn't be surprised to see Asplund, like, melt TKO up against the fence, and Guillermo just, like, gives up, you know, submission to strikes type shit. Now, on to the main card, right? Ty Miller versus Billy Ray Goff. Now, Ty Miller's coming in as a 7-0 undefeated prospect. He's really young, and he's one of those guys, like, if you guys watch the tape, like, okay, looking at Ty Miller, the guy on the left, right? He has that protest power. It's actually crazy. He has that protest build, like, long man, catch you on the end of the straight punches. It's really insane. He doesn't look strong by any definition of the word, but his strikes, even if they're slow, they pack a crazy punch, bro. Like, when he catches people at the end of those punches, they're going out immediately. Like, he does real damage. He's also 6'2", which means in this fight he's gonna have a 4-inch height advantage. And who knows how long of a reach advantage against Billy Ray Goff. And honestly, man, Billy, he's going to get done like fucking Lenny off of Mice and Men, man. He's going to get slammed out, all right? I can see this being like just, you know, Miller's doing well. He's kind of point fighting, maybe not doing any real damage. Goff is doing well, not really doing any real damage to Miller. And then Miller just lines up a really good shot. You know, Billy's explosive. He has good in and out movement. But at some point in the fight, he's going to get caught 100%. If Miller, you know, if I'm right and Miller does have this kind of crazy power and he's not just like been lucky to fight a bunch of chinny guys his whole career, he's just kind of looks like a demo version of Carlos Prates, bro. Like, imagine Carlos Prates if instead of taking Muay Thai, he just did boxing, like, his whole career. And imagine he doesn't know how to use his legs and doesn't throw a single leg kick. Like, that's Miller, right? So give me Miller by round 2 flatline KO. I can see him just Miller, like Goff, you know, closing the distance like the shorter fighter's supposed to, trying to like maybe hitting a little smooth little combination to the body or whatever, or trying to hit something upstairs. And then on the disengage, when he backs out, Ty Miller hits him with like a really stiff jab or a 2 coming out and just flatlines him, like genuinely rocks his shit 90 degrees and he goes to sleep. All right, that's what I think. Ty Miller by round 2 flatline KO. All right, Amanda Lemos against Alexia Thainara. Now, veteran Amanda Lemos taking on this girl who's 11 years younger, bro. 1 loss in her career, 3-fight win streak in the UFC. They have the same height and build, damn near. And back in the day, I would have taken into account the submission ability of Lemos. You know, she's Brazilian. She has a couple submissions on her record. But honestly, Lemos is 39, man. 39 in the lower weight classes is a really old age. Like, you're old, bro. Old. And Thainara has 6 submissions on her record too. So she's not going to get submitted easily. She has a good ground game. Out of respect for the GOAT Lemos, I'm going to give this one to Thainara by decision. But this fight, I think, is just going to be Thainara constantly taking down Lemos. Lemos maybe trying to get up at the beginning, but then ended up just accepting bottom position, throwing up triangles, throwing up arm bars, doing all that bullshit. And then Thainara just wins by decision, all right? Alexia Thainara by decisions. Darren Elkins versus Yadier del Valle. Now, this guy's the biggest favorite on this card. Yadier del Valle coming from Cuba. I love you, Mike. I love you. See you soon, boy. Shout out Yoel Romero. Last fight, he lost to Jordan Levitt. It was a really big upset. Shit happens, bro. He had some UFC jitters. You're going to lose, bro. At some point in your career, you're going to lose. All right? You see, even Ilya lost this fight, all right? From what I've seen, I was expecting Valle to, since he's from Cuba, to have really good boxing. These guys have really good Olympic boxers. But actually, his submission threat, like his groundwork, is probably the thing to watch for on the feet. Given that Darren Elkins is actually expired at 42 years old, which is, again, super old, like actually decrepit for the lighter weight class. He's got the featherweight division. There's not going to be that much resistance to the takedowns, I feel. And I can see this fight staying on the feet for a little bit, but Del Valle is going to go for the takedown as soon as he feels any sort of resistance on the feet, which he should. Honestly, that's the correct game plan to do. Elkins, if you guys don't know, was actually the debut of Charles Oliveira. Dude got submitted by Charles in the debut. But yeah, man, I think this fight's going to drag to the second round because most of these MMA fights that end up in the very grappling heavy end up, taking that long. But there's going to be at some point a back take from Del Valle, and there's going to be a submission. There's going to be a rear naked choke. He's gotten a couple of them in his career. Give me Del Valle by rear naked sub late round 2. All right, I believe that's a safe pick. He is a really big favorite. I wouldn't put it that high, especially seeing what happened against Levitt the last time. But yeah, man, by submission, I think is the correct pick to have here. Billy Quarantillo versus Diego Ferreira. Now, it's criminal that this is the co-main event to anything related to the UFC, honestly, man. It's nasty work. Diego Ferreira is low-key evil. He slimed out Rebecki. And it would be nice if he won, right? Because that makes Rebecki's loss, not as bad. By the way, did you guys see that Rebecki TKO over the weekend? That's my GOAT, bro. That was my prediction. Round 1 KO, man. So happy to see it. Really makes me smile, bro. Really. But yeah, man, this fight is a real Unk versus Unk matchup. Both guys over 35 years of age, I believe. Quarantillo's 37, Ferreira's 39, something like that. They're fighting for the last spot in their retirement home. Billy has a really good pressure. He pushes the action. He pushes the pace, which is great for when these matchups are this close. He does lack finishing power, and Ferreira really likes to keep the fight on the feet, which is going to be a little bit worrying because Ferreira does have knockout power, right? I think he's knocked out Johnston in his time, but again, these guys are older. I can see Ferreira, since he likes to switch stances so much, like constantly getting squared up against Quarantillo. And Quarantillo does a really good job of mixing in the takedowns. He has gotten slimed out by Edson Barboza with a knee for trying to shoot like sloppily on him. But apart from that, Quarantillo shoots really good takedowns. And I can see at one point, striking exchanges, Ferreira's backing up Quarantillo, switches stances that in that moment, maybe the second or third time he does it in the fight, Quarantillo takes advantage and shoots for a takedown. That's a really bad habit to have, is to switch stances for no reason or switch stances without a setup, like you're going to switch kick and then switch stance, or you're going to, switch stances off of a cross maybe, but you can't just switch stance on its own, and that's something Ferreira does a lot. I can see him getting taken down. And honestly, okay, it is the biggest coin toss on the card, and these guys are really evenly matched. But I can see, again, Quarantillo getting the edge, getting the edging, I can see Quarantillo edging, right? I can see him getting the nod from the judges from all the takedowns he gets from Ferreira squaring up and just like countering Quarantillo's attacks with his own takedowns. Again, probably going to be a really boring co-main event. Sucks that this is the co-main event we have. It is what it is, bro. We got to be grateful, right? Right? We can't complain, right? Nah, man. We low-key got to burn Dana White at the stake, all right? Give me Billy by 3-round, let's say 29-38 decision, all right? On to the main event of the evening now. Finally, the main event. Low-key, the only fight worth watching on here, right? As we know, this boils down to how good is Quillan Salkild's takedown defense, how good are his scrambles. And the easiest way to know or to like the closest we can get to know how he's going to do against Gamrot is watching the Janicic fight, right? Now, I remember watching that shit. I was so nervous. I did not want the Israeli dude winning it, man. Janicic, IDF soldier, I was like, oh, hell no. Do not let this guy win a fight. In their fight, you know, Janal was able to get a body lock several times. He got on the legs of Salkilld. He did a good time shooting. But he was never able to do anything with it because Quillen never settled. You know, most Australians are really good with that. Not settling, you know, unless you're JDM. Sorry, JDM. Not settling for the takedowns. He was always even shooting off of the takedowns that Janicic failed. Just doing a great job stuffing the head, getting the underhooks, you know, fighting for position. Just in general, not accepting position. Again, accepting position against the grappler, you know, Joaquin Buckley, what he was doing against Usman. Who else? You know, just anytime anyone's gotten smudged in the UFC, it's most likely because they've stopped resisting on some US police force shit and accepted position. And Salkilld does not do that, right? Salkilld stayed really, really busy in all of the wrestling exchanges. The shots that he would shoot were actually really well timed against Janicic and made Yamal. Shout out Lamin Yamal. It made Janicic really like worry about the takedown threat, which is something that sets up the hands. If you guys have ever fought MMA, you know that's very important, is to set up a takedown threat. And I think this fight with Gamrot is gonna look exactly the same on the feet, except Salkild's gonna let go a lot more because against the Shmooze, you know, people forget, man, but the Israeli dude, he had a good overhand. That was a worry. I was worried for that overhand against Quillen Salkilld. I was glad Quillen Salkilld got on the hips as much as he did and went for the takedowns when he did. But that's not something we have to worry about against Gamrot. Gamrot does not have that kind of power in his hands. And of course, right, no need to even mention it. Gamrot is better on the ground than Shmooze, no doubt. But this fight comes down to how long can Salkilld keep up with the scrambles that Gamrot's going to create. Salkild's not going to get submitted. I feel like I can say that pretty confidently. You know, Gamrot submitted Esteban, but Esteban's a really sloppy fighter. And Gamrot really does not go for submissions. Gamrot couldn't even submit Dan Hooker, and we see how that guy gets passed around, getting arm triangled, right, every fight. That's something that I don't think we have to worry about. You know, no submission threat in this fight with Salkilld. And in the third round with Ashmuz, I learned that Salkilld actually is able to keep his cardio going, which is the other issue. Again, 5-round fight. Salkild's never been in a 5-rounder, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, I don't think when he would have fight. He would have never been in a 5-rounder against Benil Dariush, who was 3 rounds. He ended it in the first round. So his cardio held up, his takedown defense held up. He's not gonna get submitted, and he's better than Gamrot on the feet. Honestly, like, what else can you ask for? Even in the Gamrot fights, when he fights strikers, you see that, you know, Dan Hooker fight, Stepan Rudovic fight, the Ludovic Klein fight. He isn't adverse, like he isn't completely against staying on the feet with them, especially after he's taken some damage and he's a little bit tired from the scrambles. He meets these guys on the feet and strikes with them. And I don't think that's something you should do against Quillen Salkilld, man. I think that's what's going to get him knocked out against Salkilld. So I can see the first 2 rounds being really scramble heavy. Of course, Gamrot trying to push his game on Salkilld, but Salkilld knows this. He's going to have prepared for it. He's going to scramble. And then every moment this fight's on the ground, he's going to be moving around, you know, resisting. And he's going to out-damage him really bad on the feet. So I believe in the second half of the second round, Gamrot's going to settle to strike on the feet with Salkilld, you know, thinking he's going to ride the round out and recover some cardio. And Salkild's going to find him, man. I could see a high kick like the one he hit against, what's his name? The Afghan guy? Oh, I forgot. Oh, man, it was a good knockout, though. I could see him hitting one of those. I could see him maybe a straight shot, because, of course, Salkild's going to have the reach and height advantage over Gamrot. But yeah, man, give me Quillen to TKO Gamrot at the end of the second round, maybe early third round. Okay, but same situation. Gamrot settles to strike on the feet, gets knocked out. All right? I'm sorry, Poland, bro. Honestly, I'm sorry. Thank you guys for watching. I'm sorry to Poland. I betrayed Poland. I'm sorry to Kazakhstan. I betrayed Kazakhstan. This video, if I get my picks right, this will be one of the most tragic videos in Artorias history, man, because I've switched up on all these countries, bro. I promise. I still love you guys, all right? So thank you guys for watching. I'm going to go train. I got jiu-jitsu class. Ciao, ciao.